Just let me know when, Christy.
Thanks, I will.
Oops.
Looks like we're ready. Go ahead, Jan.
Okay, I would like to welcome you all to the meeting of the Streets and Sidewalks Committee on Monday, June 28th. And present are Mayor Tomko and Andrew Rocky, Councilman Andrew Rocky, myself, and Chief Administrative Officer Rob Jamison, and the village engineer Tim Lannon. And so I think it's informational. It's about the stormwater runoff on Willow, Locust, and Lindale Lane. And I welcome you all, and we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of the presentation. So I'll turn this over to Rob.
Thank you very much, Jan. I see Darren was able to join us, as well as Council President Aaron Grube and Councilperson Nancy Rogoff.
Thank you.
Yes, tonight we have Tim Lannon joining us to provide an overview and update on the stormwater management study for the Locust Lane, Lindale Lane, Willow Lane watershed area. A lot of the residents have been experiencing stormwater issues there, which have been highlighted by some of the more severe storms we've had in the past few years. So Mayor Tomko authorized and asked for this study to move forward. Council approved the funding in this year's capital budget. And Tim's going to provide an overview of where we're at and where we're going.
I don't have anything to add to Rob. We've asked our engineer to study this. The watershed is much larger than Locust Lane. It extends all the way up to Willow and to the northern end of Cleveland Street. So I'm just going to turn it over to Tim. Tonight's meeting is more a report of we're in the fact gathering mode. We're in the fact gathering mode, and we don't have any proposals. So Tim, go ahead. It's your meeting.
Okay, Christy, could you let Josiah and Marianne in from the attendees list?
Yes, I most certainly will.
Thanks. They'll be sharing screens.
Can you give me the names once again, Tim?
Yeah, Marianne Hana,
There she
H-E-J-N-A,
is. Yep, gotcha.
and
Thanks.
Josiah.
Very good. They're both coming in now.
Okay.
Okay. Can everybody see me now?
Yeah. Yes. Wait
Great.
on
Waiting on
Josiah.
I'm here. Hey.
There he is. I'll just say a couple words with this watershed specifically. It's something that's been studied a lot over the years. We came up with probably some very expensive solutions, some cheap solutions, some of which were actually implemented, and some expensive solutions which are always delayed because we never had a dedicated source for funding stormwater. With the good luck we had with Greenbrier Rain Gardens roughly 2 years ago, we thought we should revisit this location and look at various ways to resolve basically the stormwater quantity that all ends up at the low end. And with modern capabilities of stormwater modeling, we can look at multiple options and model the results and kind of predict more accurately the scientific results. So we wanted to do that in advance. And Marianne and Josiah will explain the process and some of the things we're looking at, and then the ongoing efforts with metering the streams and sewers. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marianne and Josiah.
Okay, I am going to try and, can I share my screen if I go ahead and do this? All right, let's see. Let me know if you can.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks for the introduction. And Josiah and I are going to work together here and try and step you through our stormwater study. We're going to start and just kind of by talking about the overview like the mayor started with. And then we're going to step into explaining the model itself and the inputs. And then last, we'll just talk about some conceptual proposed designs that we're kicking around and want to show you today. So within the village boundary, you can kind of see our study area is in the north central, northwest portion of the village. At the downstream end of our project, the water pretty much meanders to the western side and exits towards the Chagrin River on that western side. Overall, the study area itself is about 75 acres. So as the mayor pointed out, Willow Lane and Locust Lane are the borders on the north side. East Summit Streets are southern border, and the parallel streets of North Main and North Street border us on the east-west. So Josiah is going to step through how water flows through the watershed. He's going to show you some green arrows and some blue arrows. The green arrows are our closed pipe system, and our blue arrows are going to be the open stream. So about 30% of our network, we have about a 2-mile network, 30% of that is open stream, and about 70% is the closed network. So Josiah, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, so I can kind of step through how the water moves through the system here. So it starts up here at the north end, as it says, at Willow Lane. It gathers some flow up here from North Street in Cleveland. And you probably can't see my mouse, but it kind of heads down towards this point right here. It also gathers some flow from North Street on the south. It goes about halfway down the street until the crest of the hill. And that flow heads north towards Willow, shoots over to the west, and then starts heading, southwest towards Locust. From that point, it does turn into open stream here in this section. And then it kind of meanders its way down and makes it to Locust Lane, where it then kind of takes a turn to go parallel with Locust Lane for a while in the man-made channel that I'm sure many of you know, at this area right here. Then it dips back behind these two houses, comes back up, crosses Locust, and then takes a turn into another culvert that heads towards North Main over here. And this is where it exits the system over here. So if you go to the next slide, additionally, it takes in this new development of Falls Walk and Pear Tree Circle over here. The flow from those two streets go into this retention basin here, which are then outletted at a controlled rate out of this outlet over here. And then it heads through these little wetlands, woodsy section, and meets up with this section, this open stream that comes into Locust here. And then finally, there's an area. Oh, there it is. Okay. There's an area down here to the south that it also takes in from Lindale. There's a culvert that takes in some catch basins at the end of the cul-de-sac here and kind of juts across a few people's yards to meet up with the stream in the back here. And then it also takes up some newer storm sewer that's on North Main Street here, as well as a couple catch basins on Lindale.
Okay, so in addition to that, we're gonna go ahead and we've got some drone video that we can kind of talk through and show you. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, but basically I wanna show you the drone video. We're gonna start here exactly, the drone's gonna go exactly the way Josiah just explained, upstream to downstream, east to west. So let me see if I can get that for you. And I will share that. Let me know when you see that.
Looks good.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start playing, and you can see we're in that top corner of the watershed, and this is North Street, and you can see pretty much right about here is where Josiah was talking about. The water comes up through these homes. And right about this dirt mound, there's a catch basin here where it connects with the storm flow coming off of Willow Lane. And then proceeds to this woodsy area in the backdrop of the homes. The drone's gonna drop in a couple of minutes to kind of change the elevation so we can kind of see a little bit more downstream. So if we just hang on, it's gonna rotate for us. And then we've got the open channel flow. Hopefully you can see that a little bit through the trees here. The retention basin from the newer development on Sidewalks over in the corner here, which the video will turn a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. I think you'll be able to see the outlet structure pretty clearly. And you can see this is an area that we're going to talk about a little bit later in our proposed design. And then as the stream meanders down, it's going to, we're going to shoot over here to the right, but on the, you can kind of see this whole area that's open here. And then about right here at house 100, Locust Lane is where the stream will take a bend, and we'll be able to see it open up onto the open channel that is along, maybe I was a little bit early, along Locust Lane. But this will give you a nice view. Here we're coming down. Here you can see Lindale in the foreground. So we're in between the homes on Lindale now and Locust Lane. Is the quality coming out okay? Can you see it okay?
Yes, it's good.
Okay, great. Okay, and then we will travel down and you can see a little bit of the open channel here before it tucks back across these two homes. And then kind of comes back around, and then after we show you this video, Josiah will kind of map you through where we actually have the flow monitoring locations and what type of equipment is out there. But this kind of gives you a visual of, you can kind of say it's basically a pretty much all residential watershed. And then we're going to turn here at the end, give you some time to see this, area of concern that gets historically flooded. Here is the culvert that Josiah was talking about underneath of Locust Lane. And then it's just there for the little piece, and then it's open, and then you can't see it, but it's underground here. And then it'll shoot across the road, underneath the road again here. And you can kind of see here's the downstream portion, and this is outside of our watershed. So this would be the end of the study there. So I will close that out. Whoops. And we'll get back to our presentation for you. Okay. And let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
All right, great. So Josiah, go ahead and pick up from there and kind of explain our 3 different types of equipment. He's going to explain to you what we got out there.
Okay, so yeah, an important part of the process while we're doing this study and trying to build a model of the system is doing some metering and trying to understand what the real life situation looks like when there's a rain event. So to do that, we have a couple different types of technology. One that we use is a flow meter. We also called an AV meter for area and velocity. So those are shown in green here. Let me real quick. So these green dots here represent where we have those flow meters. So basically, those are meters that we typically put inside of a pipe, and it gives us 3 different pieces of information. It gives us the flow rate through the pipe, the velocity that the water is traveling at, and also the depth of the water in the pipe. And having those measurements really helps us out in understanding what the system is doing, how it's performing during rain events and during flooding events. Another type of meter that we have is a stream gauge. So they're represented with these blue squares here. And those are basically just depth sensors. So we typically put these in pieces of open stream so that we can understand how the depth levels are fluctuating, like both during dry weather and during rain events. And then the third type that we have is just a rain gauge, which in our system is located at the very downstream end. It's actually in the fence of the pump station that's right at the intersection of Locust and North Main there. But basically, this just gives us a more accurate understanding of how much rain we're getting, what intensity it's raining at, and how long the rainstorms last. Just real quick to walk you through our locations of these. So the flow meters, we have one located at basically in the backyards of Willow Lane. And it is up at the upstream section about where the drone started. And Mary Ann was saying that the flow was coming from North Street here and kind of crossing between these houses, right where the Willow flows and the North Main flows come together right there. That's where we have a meter, just to try to understand the flows that are coming from this upstream section here. And then this stream gauge we have right here is just downstream of that, right at the outlet of the pipe that this meter up here was in. And it helps us understand the open streams in that area. Right here, we have another stream gauge letting us know how the levels are fluctuating right outside of that basin, so that we can understand what kind of water the basin is putting into the system, especially if it's overflowing at all during rainstorms. Another rain gauge we have another stream gauge we have down here on Locust Lane, I believe is in the front, in the channel in front of the front yard of 80 Locust Lane. And we knew that that was an area that has a lot of historical flooding. And it seems to happen in this area of the street where it starts overtopping the road. And we wanted to just have an understanding of how that was happening in real time when it was raining. And then the last two flow meters we have down here are at the downstream end of the system. And they're helping us understand what's happening with these two larger culverts at the end. And if they're, filling up during rain events and how fast they're filling up, and stuff like that. So I think we can move on. And so that kind of leads us to we wanted to explain the technology to you a little bit and show you what some of the installations might look like, some of the maintenance we might have to do with them. So on the left here is that rain gauge that I was talking about. This is on the fence of that pump station at North Main and Locust. There's two pieces of equipment here. One of them is this white bucket here. This is the part that collects the rain, and it has like a tipping bucket system inside that lets us know when it starts raining, how much rain we've gotten and stuff. And then this other piece over here is the logger, and basically it collects all the information and stores it and sends it to us. And it collects information every 5 minutes, basically, and sends it to us once it's logged it. And then moving on in the middle, we have a stream gauge. So this white pipe that you see here contains the stream gauge. The gauge itself is sitting on the bottom, but we lower it down into this pipe for safety and security reasons. And it fills up and lets us know how much water is on top of it, basically. When we go out and install it, we'll take a measurement of how much water is there to start, to kind of give it like a benchmark to work off of, to say, it's so much higher or lower than what we set it when it was there. And then this third picture over here, you can see Tim doing hard work. And that one is at that same location behind the houses on Willow Lane, where the flows from Willow and from North Street come together and head southwest. Yeah, I think that's okay. So typically when we install these flow meters, we try to put them in manholes for security reasons and just to make sure that they stay safe and dry if we can. But basically the flow meters themselves have two main components. One of them is, as noted down here, is the AV probe. So we put that inside the actual pipe. It's like a very small, like a couple inches probe that we put on the bottom of the pipe and kind of strap it on with a stainless steel band. And then that's connected to a bigger piece of equipment that is the logger itself that collects all the information and typically has a wireless modem attached to it so that it can wirelessly send us the information every 5 minutes while the data is coming in. Sometimes, well, also, can you go back real quick?
Sure, sorry.
No, it's okay. This is that manhole that Tim was looking down into on the left here. And then this one on the right is on Locust. It's that small section on the north side of Locust where it, right after it crosses the street and right before it starts heading towards North Main. Okay, you can move on. Most of the time, our meters are able to send us information wirelessly, but sometimes they're not, and we will need to go out there and manually download the information, typically every month, sometimes a little more often. And we'll have to perform other maintenance on it, like replacing the batteries like Brian's doing here. But just to give you an idea of what an installation would look like. So it's kind of hard to see, but in here, there's two boxes. One of them is the modem to send the information over. And then the other one contains like the batteries and the logger itself collecting the information. And then here's the antenna that sometimes can help give it better reception. And like we were pointing to before, the actual probe taking the data is down in the pipe.
Okay, so as Josiah pointed out, our model is only as good as our data is. So we take great care in making sure that we have a good system to present reliable data. So what do we have at this point? We installed our first meters at the end of April. So you can see we captured a pretty good sized storm. It was about 1.5 inches over a little bit longer period. So that really equates to about a 9-month storm, which wasn't as strong as intensity as the one we had just about a week ago that you can see was the second highest amount, but it was a lot stronger intensity. So overall, we've had about 14 events, 4 of them about over an inch. We're looking to get as much rainfall events as we can capture to be really representative of the system moving forward for the design years ahead. So what does that look like so far? Well, I mean, we haven't had a lot of rainfall this year. That's what I would say. So all of these kind of data points are significant for us. So the amount of rainfall, how strong it is, how long it lasts, how dry it is before the event, and what's happening in the meters. What's the maximum depth, the velocity, and the flow. So we take a look at all of those. In May, we had about 3.5 inches of rain. That's kind of on average for the area. June, as you know, June fluctuates a lot. We can have anywhere, I would say, from this year to 2012, it ranges from anywhere from 1.5 inches to 11 inches of rain. And we can have rainfall, really the strongest rainfall can happen in October. So unfortunately, rainfall is not predictable. We can't say we're going to capture two events every single week. And we just are trying to be patient and make sure that our data gives us a reliable model that Josiah can calibrate. So, and just overall to date, for 2021, we've had about 18 and a half inches of rain. So if you take, let's say we have about 5 inches of rain in late in the year in November and December, so that gives us about, say, 24 inches. On average, we've got about 50 inches of rain a year. So what I'm trying to say is we got about 27 inches of rain left to go, spread over the next 4 months. How that's going to happen, we have no idea, but we're still waiting for those to kind of evolve, and that's kind of where the rainfall is at, which is, as you know, an important part of your storm study. So with that, I'll let Josiah talk a little bit more about how that rainfall data is used to calibrate the model.
Okay, thanks. So an important thing to note here is that our model isn't calibrated yet. We're still working on, as Marianne said, first of all, getting good rain events to use as data for our model, and just getting everything worked in and tweaked to make sure it's right. So this graph over here is kind of just an example to represent what we're looking for. So this blue line shows the hydrograph, or just basically the flow graph of what we would see in real life. So this would be the data that we would get from the meters. And then the red line would represent what the model is saying. So basically, in an ideal system, these two would be the same. And we just basically trying to work to try to get these two graphs as close together as we can. And this top section here is just showing a example of a rain event, and when, oh, you can't see my mouse, sorry. This top section is showing rainfall amounts, and basically after all this rain comes, the response of the system is what this is. So how much flow comes through the system right after that rain event. This second screenshot over here is showing our model. And basically we broke down our larger watershed into approximately 20 smaller, like sub-watersheds, to give us a better level of detail, because not all of these areas are the same. And basically each one of these sub-watersheds will be loaded onto a certain point. So like all of the water within one of these sub-watersheds will drain to one point on the stream. And that's where the flows will get loaded in there. So it basically gives us the ability to say, hey, there's more water coming in this sub-watershed 16 versus the water coming in from this sub-watershed 7 over here. It allows us to vary the amounts of flows that are coming in, because it depends on how much area there is and how much impervious surface there is, a bunch of factors. But basically breaking it down like this just gives us a better level of detail to build a more accurate model. So we kind of also wanted to walk you through part of the model. So this is the downstream end of the system. You can see that this is on Locust Lane at the intersection of Main Street. So what we're looking at here is this highlighted section that starts here and ends down over here. So where I'm pointing now is the outlet of the system. So that's the downstream most end of the system. That's where it outlets into the stream that eventually heads to the Chagrin River. And just moving upstream from here. So if we start at the outlet, there is a 3x4 culvert that goes under North Main Street here. And then another 42-inch pipe that comes up to the road at Locust here. There's a small section of open stream, and it crosses the street under the road. And then from there up to this point over here, behind this home on Locust, is all open channel stream. So if you go to the next slide.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Can you
please.
go back? what is the culvert under Locust before it daylights upstream?
Right here.
No, yeah, underneath Locust there. You
I
said that's a 42 inch
This one,
under.
I believe, is a 36. If you go to the next slide, it says for sure. Okay, that's a 30-inch under Locust, and then the 42 is the one. If you go
Okay.
back, the 42 is this one up here
Right. Okay.
that goes towards North Main Street. That one's an old corrugated metal pipe. I think they're actually both corrugated metal pipes.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. So this is a profile of that same section that we were just looking at. So if we look at the upstream end, so it starts here in the backyard of 50 Locust Lane, and it's going behind these two homes. And then it curves up towards 270 North Main around here. And then, as we were saying, the section under the road is this part right here. So this is Locust Lane right here above this 30-inch pipe. And then it outlets for a very short section and takes a turn into this 42-inch pipe that just goes under the yard of 302 North Main. And then there's a catch basin right before the road where it transitions into a 3x4 concrete box that then outlets on the other side of North Main. So real quick, I saw that we're running a little low on time. I want to show you.
So do you want to share your screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so just want to show you a quick video of what we're kind of looking at when we're running this model and we're watching a storm happen in real time. So basically, we'll kind of go through real quick the process of the storm. You'll see the water start to build up as the rainfall comes. And you'll see that this pipe under Locust is struggling a little bit and starting to back up the system upstream.
Is that just the most recent storm events?
This isn't calibrated. It's just like an example storm that we
Okay.
made just for
All right.
illustrative purposes at the moment. But we just
Okay.
kind of wanted to show you kind of what it looks like when it's running. And we'll have, more accurate representations of what it looks like in real life once we're able to incorporate our meter data that we're gathering right now. Okay.
I think, Josiah, didn't you say that's approximately about 4 inches of rainfall in 24 hours? That's
Yes,
what it looked like, and we
That's-
haven't had that yet, right?
that's correct.
That's a theoretical flow at that
Yes.
density. Okay. Thanks.
Yes.
Right. Tim, is there anything else you'd like to add? Because we're going to have to wrap this up, and I'd like to give any people in the audience an opportunity to ask questions.
You're muted, Tim. Tim, you're
If
muted.
you're still muted,
I see.
there you go.
So just the culvert under Locust, that this study will help us size that. Since it's scheduled to be replaced, it's a needed replacement just due to condition. And we didn't want to just size it for, the downstream capacity until we verified that that was the proper size. So this all helps get the right pipe size there, not spend too much money and not spend too little and have to redo it 10 years down the road. So that's
Okay.
all.
I appreciate that. So when do you think we might have the data to make that decision?
That's a good question. It was nice to have that 2-year storm last weekend. That really that came in handy for metering. You can wait
Right.
months for a storm like that to help set the calibration. So probably in a month we'll have the data. Does that sound about right, Josiah?
Yeah. And if we get
From the
more
various
storms,
meters. Yeah.
if we get more storms, it'll be even better. So
It's supposed
Yeah,
to
so
storm
several-
all week, so.
Yeah.
So Christy, are
this-
there people in the audience that would like to ask questions?
If you are in the audience and you'd like to ask a question, please use your raise your hand function in Zoom. And I can promote you to the conversation. I don't see any hands at this time, Jan.
Okay, so Tim, before we go forward, will we have another meeting? An update?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can tell we're midstream. We just wanted to talk about, the scope, what we're looking at as basically an update, and
Okay, I appreciate that.
It's
So-
fascinating. It's very well done. A lot more data than I was used to 30 years ago when I was doing this stuff. I can't wait to see what you come up with and some proposed systems to capture the rainwater.
I
Right.
do have a member in the audience that does have a question.
Okay,
Hillary, I've unmuted you. Can you go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, I was just wondering if Willow Lane has anything to do with this, or if this is mostly just to look at the Locust Lane. We just happen to be the top of the watershed, or will there be repairs up there?
yeah, I can answer that. We are looking at Willow Lane because, there's an old culvert there that crosses not too far west of North Street. So we're checking that pipe size as well. And that potential solutions would be to hold back water in rain gardens or something like that on Willow Lane itself. So that's how Willow comes into play.
Yeah, my house is the start of that watershed where the two North Main and Willow Lane come in. That's my backyard. So I'm just
Yeah.
interested what might happen there.
You're actually on an island, I think, because the pipes come in on either side of your house. And I think
Yes.
the pipe off North Street might be under your patio, the way it lines up.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah.
wow. Any other questions from anyone that's here?
I do have another question. Ruth and Van Todwell, do you have a question you'd like to ask?
Yes, this is Ben Twaddell, and we're at 87 Locust Lane. And I'm just curious how long the data collection will go on. Do you need to wait until you get some really big storms, or you're able to use the modeling to predict what would happen with big storms?
Well, I mean, Josiah can kind of tag team that one, but depending on the size storm you have, the more data we have, the bigger storms, the better. So imagine you have 3 points, very small together, and you try and extrapolate out. If we don't have data out there, we don't really know exactly where we're headed. So we're hoping for some bigger storms to help us understand the system. Josiah, you want to add anything to that?
No, I'd agree completely. We'll try to leave them out there for, a few more months if we can, to try to get some more rain events. But if we get, a couple more good ones, then it's probably good enough for our purposes.
So you're saying you would be done collecting data this year? I mean, this summer, this fall?
Yeah.
And not go much longer than the first of winter. Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine we'd need to go farther than the fall.
Okay. That's good to know. Thanks. Good question.
Just out of curiosity, when does that work get done? Provided you have some examples and there's some work that needs to be accomplished. Is that a springtime project? When would you do that?
Darren, I think you asked about the culvert replacement.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. When would those repairs happen? Provided you have enough detail that you've decided you need to make some accommodations. What would out of curiosity, when does that typically happen?
For the culvert replacement on Locust, that actually is in the budget, assuming everything works out. That would be this fall, ideally.
Okay.
Okay, I think council will be starting at 7 o'clock. So unless there are any other questions, I think we'll adjourn. And I want to thank everyone for attending tonight.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jan.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Good job. I really enjoyed this presentation. It's good.
Thanks, Tim.
Yes, thank you.